Okay. So yeah, welcome to the mental health workshop. Music in the background. We're just I'm gonna talk a bit about the current situation, and then we could talk about the ways we can combat, because I think it's a nice small group, so we can definitely all throw in ideas on how we can combat some of these situations that are going on. And then maybe we could share some stories at the end, if everybody is okay with that. So there was a video I wanted to play to start it off. I think this girl's actually a YouTuber right now, but right. So I'm gonna share my screen. Okay. Oh, this is so cool. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Is YouTube? Can you see it? Okay, perfect.
University, I suffered from mild depression and anxiety.
Sorry. Hopefully my internet acts up
I
today.
suffered from mild depression and anxiety.
Ah.
I suffered from mild depression and anxiety. It was really difficult for me to do just normal basic things like make myself a meal, take regular showers. I would just lay in bed for like days on end. I'd ignore my friends that would try to contact me. I wasn't able to physically get up and give myself the motivation to do that because I just didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I needed to. I think some of the triggers and causes for my mental health at university was not being around my family, not having my friends around, trying to meet new people, adjusting to my course. I think there's a massive pressure to have an amazing time. Universities meeting people from all different areas of the world, and it's about learning how to talk to new people, and not everyone finds that as easy as some people do. I'm a Black girl from East London, and I met some people that didn't relate to my experiences growing up. I don't think it's surprising that 78% of students are suffering from mental health problems because it's an unspoken problem that we have in our society. There are a lot of students that are suffering, but they're very afraid to speak about it. If it were up to me to change that statistic, I would say that I would encourage people to have open conversations by providing more services for large amounts of students to actually attend. I think a lot of problem with universities now is that there just isn't enough facility for the amount of students that are suffering. I wish I'd been more open with my feelings to people and been more vulnerable and said, you know, something is wrong, I don't feel okay. I wish I sought counselling earlier. I wish I spoke to my mum and told her what was wrong, what was really going on with me. Once you hit that really low point in your studies, that's when you realise, like, I have to do something about this. Like, I can't continue and make myself worse. Make sure that you acknowledge that you are not okay. And I know there's a lot of people that find that quite hard to do, but it's important to realize that you are just as good as everyone else. You just need a bit of help right now. There are things in place for you to fix it. Your student counselling service is there. Your GP is there if you want to get a referral. So there are things you can do. It's just about taking action and trying to get yourself better again.
Yes, I thought that video was really nice to like summarize what I wanted to talk about today, because she talks about really important stuff about not wanting to go into lectures, about the pressure university has, you know, have fun, because I'm sure some of us have watched Nelly Rose videos. University is not like that. So we'll go on to talk about that today. So yeah, I wanted to have like a quick start with a quick background and talk about some definitions. So mental health, when we define it, they talk about something being clinically diagnosable, and then when they talk about someone being ill mentally, they're talking about it's a broad term talking about distress that someone might face that can be related to diagnosable conditions or not. And then well-being, which is a term that's thrown around and used a lot when it comes to mental health. Um, so the definition of well-being is the thoughts, feelings on the quality of life. And we want good mental health while we're at uni. We want to have good well-being as well, because those things are really important, you know, because you can't come and kill yourself while you're at uni. Like you want to study, but you also want to leave, you know, good, like good mentally. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna open the floor up. So if anybody wants to throw in before I start saying my list of issues that we may face at university. So any issues that you think students might face at uni. Loneliness, yeah, definitely. Okay, everybody has
Anxiety.
to give me one. Yeah, anxiety.
Anxiety, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I was about to say loneliness, but that was taken. But just like trouble making or forming relationships, I guess.
Yeah,
Trouble taking care of themselves.
yeah,
I would say eating disorder.
yeah. That's also really important. That's everyone. Hi, Favor. You've just joined, and everybody's given something that university students may face while we're at uni. So we've given the example of loneliness, anxiety, eating disorders. So now you have to give one example of what university students may face.
Oh wow. Um well, I wasn't ready for that question. Um, um what's been said again? Sorry.
So we've said loneliness, we've said anxiety, we've said trouble taking care of yourself, mental, eating disorders.
Yeah, not having enough money, I think, can cause a lot of stress too.
Definitely. Finance is a big, big issue.
Yeah.
So I thought of some stuff and I was thinking adjustment to new life. So getting used to the life here, especially during Corona times, that's going to be so hard. I think that's just added an extra level of stress to everything. If you like to work at the library, you can't do that anymore. You have to sit yourself at home and work at home. If you're someone if you're someone who likes to go out, sorry, is that me?
Where there's some key defect, maybe a missing document in the title.
Okay.
So as we said,
Yeah, so if you're someone who like to go out and you know see friends, if you're not a homebody, you can't do that nowadays. So adjustment to new life is really, really important. Um, Especially if you're someone I think coming from London or you're coming from somewhere where things were readily available to you. I'm talking about like hair shop. There's a hair shop in Birmingham if anybody wants to know. I think that's really important. And like stuff where you can get your yam, your Scotch bonnet peppers from. There's a shop on Bristol Road. It's called University Superstore. You can get all your stuff from there. Like just stuff like that is just important to adjusting to uni life. You need to know where you're going to do your hair. Our white counterparts obviously don't experience that struggle, but we do. So yeah, that's a really important one. And depression, which I think is such a big umbrella, but I think depression can sneak up in ways that you don't expect. So you might just start missing a lecture or two, and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm fine. I just don't feel like it." But it's stuff like that. When you start to feel like that, it's really important to get help because that's when it can escalate when you don't have anyone to support you. I think someone mentioned homesickness. That's really important. I think sometimes when we come to uni, we think, oh, I can't wait to get out of home, especially if you come from an African household, you know, I can't wait to have privacy. You know, you think you're going to go wild, you know, freshest party, bring it on. But all of that is you think that's what you're going to experience, but sometimes you do come and you do feel homesick, and it's really, really important to keep in touch with your friends. So if that's scheduling like calls with them or scheduling time to meet up. That's also really, really important. And pressures of studies. I think Birmingham is a Russell Group university. The pressure of studying can get a bit much. The step up from A level to uni is really hard for every single course. It can be really overwhelming, especially during these times where you're in your room doing your work. Like before you go to lectures, you gist with people, you'd be like, you haven't done the work, I haven't either. And just like stuff like that, that's not here this year. So it can get really overwhelming. And one thing that I personally struggled with last year was imposter syndrome. I hate defining stuff or like giving myself a label or something like that. But sometimes you don't see how good you are at what you do. Like all of us wouldn't be in these spaces if we didn't deserve to be here. So that's definitely one thing I'd encourage all of us to do. We're all here for a reason. You guys are all smart, and it's very easy to get kind of lost in that I'm not supposed to be here or everyone else is smarter than me. Especially when you're a minority, it's really important not to fall into that trap. So pressures of studying is a big thing. And then someone mentioned finance. Obviously, we have the amazing Student Finance England, but not everybody gets the full amount that they need, or issues like it comes late because university didn't register you on time. That makes finance really, really hard. I know people get jobs. I would suggest getting a student job because they're really, really flexible with your hours. If you can't do something, they will understand because you're a student. And another thing I'd suggest with jobs is always wait it out in the first time and just see. Because I think if you jump in with uni and get a job, you might not realize the commitments university is. You might start falling behind. So yeah, finance is really important. And then friends and relationships. I think people love to say university, you meet your friends for life. Sometimes you don't, and that's okay as well, I remember we had one of our introductory lectures in year one. She was like, look around, someone here is your best friend. And I looked around and I was thinking, right, that's not me, obviously, because these people are not my type of people, but there's a misunderstanding. There's just a false image put out that everyone goes to uni and they come out with amazing set of friends, or maybe they even come out of a husband, just stuff like that. It's important to try new things while you're at uni, but it's also important to like sometimes stick to what you know. And with friends, I don't know if that applies this year, but in freshers you meet a lot of people. And I think you shouldn't put too much of a pressure on yourself to like meet your best friends. It's really lovely to go with an open mind and just meet people as they come and then take it how it is. Yeah. This is going really quick. I was also gonna talk about some stats. So I found these two statistics. So we've got 10.3% and 6.9%. And I just wondered if anybody would like to guess what those statistics represent. Anyone? Or I have to pick a name. All right, guys, we're gonna go around again. Everybody tell me what they think the two numbers represent. 10.3% and 6.9%. Let's go with Whitney.
I'm not too sure about it, but I would say actually.
Just any, just take a wild guess. What could 10.3 and 6.9% mean?
10.3. I will say maybe people that have I'm not too sure.
That's okay.
I
Go
would
on,
say anxiety.
anxiety. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, go on, Crystal. Give a suggestion.
Has it got to do with like the percentage of uni students that's suffering depression or something?
Yeah, it could be. What about Aisha?
I was going to guess anxiety as well. I'm not too sure.
Okay, so 10.3% of Black students quit university or they drop out, and then 6.9 is the percentage of students who drop out of uni, and that's the student population as a whole. And I found this statistic really interesting because Black people make up only 8% of the UK university population. And from the 18 to 24, so our age mates, only 4% of us 18 to 24 make the UK university population. So a really, really high number of people, a really high number of Black people, high percentage, drop out or quit university. And I think one thing that's really important in, maintaining your mental health and helping you succeed at in your studies is forming that, community when you go to university. So that might be church, sports programs, or societies like these ones. So yeah, these societies are really, really important to just like be like a backup and kind of like a sponge to like, support you in everything you do. So yeah, that's really important. And then I wanted to talk about how we can combat these issues. And I think I've been talking about it as I've been going along. But I think one thing I forgot to mention was maintenance loans. So there's a number of different scholarships you can get at the university. And it's really, really important to check these as well, just in case they miss you out, because they've been tending to do that a lot during this corona stuff. So there's means tested scholarships you can get, and the scholarships you also have to apply for. So if anybody is in need of those things, I'd really suggest checking them out. And then with pressures of studies, connecting with an older year is really, really important, as well as them giving you like notes, which decreases like the amount of stuff you have to do. They can give you advice. They can, it gives you tips and tricks on stuff that you should do, which is really, really important. And with friends and relationships, yeah, if you're a Christian, I'd really suggest finding a church, because when you go to uni, you tend to, I guess, surround yourself in a bubble of people, people the same age as you, and making friends that are like mums or like grandmas and just people of different ages is really, really important in making it seem like you're not in this bubble that can just burst at any time. But yeah, I was going to open the floor and ask if anybody second years have had any experiences that they wouldn't mind sharing at university. It doesn't have to be really bad, but any experience you think would be beneficial to everybody else to hear. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Wait, what?
Okay, Jim McKay.
Basically, I was just gonna say, I think for me, in first year, I think, as you mentioned, I think with Nella Rose and how she portrayed university, I feel like that was the sort of standard, I guess, for everyone, and it was something that you kind of put pressure on yourself to sort of have that experience. So I think for me in first year, I really struggled with like the fear of missing out because I always felt like I had to be everywhere and doing everything, and I sort of felt like when people were doing things without me there, it just put me in this sort of like, oh, they don't like me, oh, I'm not their friend, etc., etc. And I just like through that period, it was really dark for me. But I think for me personally, it was just realizing that when you don't have to be at every event, every university experience is different, and you can't set those standards on someone else's experiences. Um, and also the fact that your worth isn't based on whether people like you or not, and if they approve of you. At the end of the day, it's who you are. And that's another thing I struggle with in terms of who I am, because as you said, being in an African household, I feel like a lot of things are determined about your parents and what they expect of you, and you don't really get to cultivate that sort of identity of yourself. So definitely first year for me was trying to find myself and trying to find my own ground and who I truly am as a person. So yeah, that was kind of my first year experience.
Yeah, I think what you said about finding yourself is really important. And the fact that, you know, the fear of missing out. I think when you have this much freedom, well, not you first years anymore, you don't have freedom, but when we had that much freedom, sometimes there's a stark difference from like, you know, the freedom you had maybe when you're living with your parents. So it's kind of like you want to get as much in as you can. But yeah, that's really important. And finding yourself. Like, I think this time in our 20s, it's like it's such a key moment of our lives. Like, you don't have a child, you don't have a husband. Like, most people don't have anyone that depend on them. So this is such an important age to just dip your toe in all the stuff you want to do and just try and find yourself. Yeah. I think there was somebody else you wanted to give an experience.
Yeah, I was going to comment on my experience actually. So in first year, I think you talked about this a little bit as well. You talked about this idea of imposter syndrome and kind of the pressures of going to a top university. And I feel like in first year, I kind of struggled with that as well, because one thing that no one tells you is when you first start uni, you're not going to be good at something straight away. So maybe you were like really good at in sixth form, like you were getting good grades and whatever. But then when it comes to university, obviously because you've never done it before, you're not going to be really, really good immediately. And it was kind of like learning to deal with that and learning to kind of combat these feelings of, oh, I'm not good enough. Oh my God, everyone's getting this. I'm not getting that straight away. Does that mean I'm dumb? Does that mean I don't deserve to be here? And it's kind of like learning to deal with that and then kind of overcoming that and not letting it kind of consume you. So you kind of don't want to kind of overcome it. That kind of, yeah, I hope I'm kind of communicating that properly, but like it's just kind of dealing with these kind of feelings of not being good enough and kind of tackling them and using that to become better at the thing you don't think you're very good at. Yeah, and I just feel like that type of stuff can lead to really depressive thinking, because you think, oh, if everyone else is better than me, you know, what's the point of me being here? And then we just kind of like wallow in my own self-pity. But yeah, it's about kind of turning the negative into positive, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so important. And sometimes it can set a cycle. You think, oh, I think for me, it was, I used to compare myself with as in what I've done, like how we have the same 24 hours. How are these people going to societies? And they're prepping for like a month ahead and I'm behind. Like, I used to like, you know, as you said, wallow in my own like sadness and then I'd be behind anyways. So it's like a cycle, and just not comparing yourself is so important. Allowing yourself like the space to grow. This is like, this is hard. It's hard being at uni. You know, it's called higher education for a reason. So it's important to let ourselves develop and make mistakes and figure out what works for us. So yeah, that's so important. Anyone?
Yeah, I'll just say I think one of the many things I struggled with last year was understanding that not everyone is going to be your friend, not everyone is going to like you. And I think luckily I learnt this earlier in the year last year. So, because obviously I went to an all-white grammar school, so I thought, oh, let me come to a university that has loads of Black people, make loads of Black friends, you know, and fit in with like loads of Black people and whatever. But like coming in, it was kind of like these people still aren't the same as me. Like, I don't know whether it's my past experiences that's made it so difficult to vibe with these people, but these people aren't like me. Is there something wrong with me? All of that. And I mean, it's difficult, especially when you see like loads of friendship groups who've suddenly become really close. And you're kind of like, oh, like, how do people make friendship groups that quickly, that easily, like that tight? So that was one thing I had to struggle with. Like at the end of the day, not everyone is going to be your friend because everybody is different, and you should only be friends with people you vibe with. So it's really about not forcing yourself to be friends with others, which is something I learned like when I was invited to a they were like this friendship group were going out, and I was invited just because I was there, and that was when like my mind really like clocked like, why am I begging it from people? Do you understand? Like, I'm my own person. I can make the friends that I like. That was one of the things I learned anyway.
Yeah. I think it's adding on to what you said, it's hard to, as I said, because people think, well, we have that misconception that when we come to uni, we're going to make so many friends. It's hard to find the balance between, putting yourself out there and also, as you said, not begging it because, at the end of the day, like you don't want to be in like an environment where you're having to force laughter or you're just feeling awkward and the vibe just isn't for you. So yeah, what you said is so important.
I just wanted to say on top of what you mentioned, Favor, this idea of like feeling as a Black girl, not knowing where you belong, like experiencing a kind of identity crisis. I feel like that's a real thing. I think with Black people, and in this context, like Black girls, we think that there are two extremes. You're either like a Black girl or you're like acting like a white girl, like depending on kind of your experiences or like where you grew up. And it's like you can never kind of be a Black girl who likes a particular type of music or whatever. And by being put into these kind of categories, you don't really feel like you fit in with Black people, and then you suffer with this kind of identity crisis, and that can make you feel really shit because you can make you feel really bad because it's kind of like you don't know where you belong, and it's like you grew up in a white area and it's like I didn't fit in there necessarily, and then you come to this school where there are supposed to be a lot of Black people, but you don't feel like you fit in with them either, and it's like, where do I actually belong? And that can make you feel really bad on top of the friendship issue, and it's like you don't even know what to do, and it can really kind of add to this kind of depressive thinking and whatever. So I think that's something we need to talk about more as Black people. It's like we need to accept each other more because there isn't just one way to be a Black person, or a Black girl, to be honest. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, I think we spoke about it a little bit in the last meeting, which like I loved about what you said again, how like we shouldn't be putting each other in boxes. And I feel like, yeah, we definitely should talk about it more. And I feel like a lot of people in the society relate to that as well. About, yeah, yeah, what you said. Hi, Caitlin. Hello. So is anybody?
I just want to say something. Like for me, around like the second semester, I began to feel a bit lonely in a way. I had people around me, but it's not really the same as home. So I think it's healthy to just go home if you really feel like you're feeling a bit overwhelmed, because we have to remember certain people, you may see them on Snapchat having all this fun with all these people around them, but some people still some people still feel really, really alone deep inside. And we should just try and remember that if we're feeling kind of, I don't know, like, oh my gosh, everyone's having fun, I'm not having fun, what am I doing? Just kind of remember that everyone is in the same boat and in the same position. And it's okay to just go back home and kind of recharge yourself any way you need to. And yeah.
Yeah, that's really important. Yeah, as I mentioned before, keeping in touch with people from home, like not cutting them off when you go to uni to try new experiences, it just, yeah, home should be like a base for you to, as I'm gonna butcher your name, so I'm not gonna say it, as Konyin said, to recharge and just, yeah, that's so important.
Because I started to feel like I was missing out as well. I'll just go on my phone in November and I'll see people like, rah, 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 having fun on Snap. And I'll just be like, what am I doing? I'm in my bed. I need to go out and like properly soak in that whole university thing. Like, as everyone said, that what we saw in the La Rosa's videos, like back in, I don't know, like year 11 and year 12. So yeah, it's okay to just, I don't know, just relax. It's not every day go out 24/7 because it can be very draining sometimes. Just make sure you take time for yourself and just, I don't know, do those things you like to do, watch anime, K-pop, all that sort of stuff. And yeah, it's really important to recharge.
I think on top of that, I think you need to set your limits with social media as well. Because when you go on things like Snap, Twitter, whatever, and you're constantly kind of consuming this information, like this is what this person's doing, this is what that person's doing, it kind of makes it worse. So it's not every day you need to spend on social media or all the hours of the day. Like maybe spend less time on social media, more time doing the things you like. And I think it'll make you feel a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing at uni that, well, when I was in sixth form, I remember I just never used to do any work. on Fridays. I just used to have it to myself, you know, watch my rom-coms, which I love. And when I came to uni, I just stopped doing that. And I just remember having so much burnout because sometimes I wasn't even working. I'd be procrastinating, but at the end of the day, I'll be like tired. So it's so important to have, as Titi said, like have like something that you like to do. Because watching anime, just have a day to yourself. Like practice some self-care. You know, if it's wine, get some wine. Do whatever that makes you happy at least once a week, and you know, love yourself a little bit.
Yeah, I just want to add that I think you see a major difference in if you take that time off from social media. So like during quarantine, a lot of the time I wasn't on social media, just doing like whatever I like to do. And I just felt like a whole different person in a way, because I'm not always comparing myself to people who I see on social media. I'm not always watching whoever doing whatever. Yeah, I just kept to myself and doing what I want, and I improved in myself in the things that I wanted to improve in. So I feel like having those breaks in social media, it just helps you feel better and like or more secure in yourself, I think, in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a like similar experience to Jerry. I also like during quarantine took time off of social media just to like recharge, and I did things that I like to do as well. And a lot of that came from like doing things involved with personal growth and development. And I could just see such a like a change between first year me and me now in second year, just in that small space of time. So it really does help to take that time off of social media. You don't have all of those constant pressures and seeing other people doing all these things. You know that you have yourself and the things that you like, the things that you want to do. And with that, you can progress further.
And I want to talk a little bit about exam pressure. So second years or even like first years, like how did you guys deal with workload and just exam pressure in year 13? And then, I mean, all of us can talk about it. And maybe second years, how have you adapted to dealing with workloads now you're in first year, second year? Anyone can answer.
I think one thing that I've learned, like as starting first year, is being organized and planning what to do for each week. Because when I was in year 12 and year 13, I used to always think like, okay, whatever I feel like doing, like if I feel like doing maths, then I'll do maths instantly. Like if I feel like doing bio, like I'll do bio. And it used to be like a very unorganized schedule. And it came to a point where I used to prioritize like doing things that like the subject that I used to enjoy and leave out like maybe like other subjects just to focus on one thing, to the point where I wasn't doing well in the other thing. But being organized and like also like planning out what to do kind of helps out in some way to manage the workload, as long as you keep on top of it with it. So yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. Go on, you're on mute.
Is it working?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think one thing for me, I'm kind of the opposite to Whitney, because before year 13, sixth form and everything was like so rigid with me. I would organize every minute of every day and things like that. So there was no room for error. But starting second year, especially with all the timetables and everything changing and things like that, I've realized that it's not always in someone's best interest to not leave room for any like discrepancies or anything that might change and things like that, and just like take each day as it comes, because if not, then you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and then you'll end up doing worse than what you would have done if you didn't like organize everything. So yeah, for me it's just the opposite, but yeah.
I like how you guys are like contrasting, because I mean, we've talked about comparing yourself, but I think when you're at uni, you do it in all aspects, especially in like studies and stuff. And even in studies, but when you start comparing yourself to people and you start doing stuff that works for them and doesn't work for you, that's when it's a bad idea. So it's so important to find what works for you and just stick to it. How have the first years, how have the first years like found the 2 weeks at uni so far? Is there anything you feel like you may struggle with later on, or anything that you've been struggling with these 2 weeks?
I think this 2 weeks, I think it was a week where I got to learn more about how to, structure myself in some way, because there are so many things that I have to do that I feel like I can't get wrong, as I just feel like, oh, if I take a wrong foot, like if I go left or something like that. So it was a time to like learn what to do and how to prevent those kind of situations and things like that. But I mean, in the good side, in some way, it made me realize how I actually enjoy my course. So that's like point there as well, compared to how it was at A level. I think that's about it as well. And actually, another thing as well is how to be confident as well. As I'm commuting, it's a lot harder to make friends. And especially because I'm always the shy person, it was a way to challenge myself to actually take a step further to message people and actually make friends with them or speak to them in a nice way, just to get to know them. So yeah, that's.
Yeah, that's really good about you being confident and putting yourself, what's the phrase? Putting yourself out the box, something like that. Trying new things. That's really important. I think when you try new things, you get more opportunities. Like this society, trying new things, getting support from other Black ladies. Yeah. I don't know what else to say. I think one thing I forgot to mention when we were talking about doing stuff you like is exercising. Um, Exercise is supposed to release a lot of endorphins or something like that. You think I know because I do medicine, but I don't. But like, it's supposed to make you feel good. It releases all kinds of hormones and stuff. So exercising is really good. Joining societies. Yeah.
Just,
Go ahead.
sorry, I just wanted to add something to the exercise bit that you just talked about. And just like a tip and what I do that I found to be really beneficial. Oh shit, I'm sorry. Hold on. Yeah, it's basically like every morning I wake up and pretty much don't use my phone for the first 2 hours after waking up, which is kind of like, I guess it's really beneficial with regard to how the rest of my day goes, and it kind of clears my head. And so like, since I'm on like antidepressants, it just doesn't, I don't know, it just gives me the time to just vibe out, be like, these are my intentions for the day, and to kind of manifest some good energy into the day. And also now the exercise bit, if you wake up and do like, I don't know if anyone here is into yoga and stuff, but I'm personally like into yoga and like chakra stuff. So if you wake up, do like sun salutations, literally takes like 10 minutes, or just anything like stretching or just vibing out. Like alone without technology, just with your mind, and setting the right space for yourself, it's really good and really helpful, especially if you're struggling with depression or a lot of anxiety, or or if it's just a tough time. So I just wanted to give that little tip from something I personally do on a daily, try to do.
If you're not like into yoga, how do you recommend we kind of get involved in that? Like, is it through YouTube or something?
I use, oh, shit, I couldn't even help you because like my mom used to take me to yoga when I was younger, so I kind of learned it from that. But I recommend the Nike training app. I don't know what it's, I think it's just called the Nike training app, but they have really good, like 10-minute and sometimes even longer, like hour-long yoga stuff, yoga workouts, and they just take you step by step. Yeah, that's a really good app. And you have a lot of other workouts on there as well, like really quick hit workouts, some are like 10 minutes, 9 minutes, whatever, for beginners, intermediate, advanced. They just really help with keeping yourself grounded. So if you're not into yoga or don't know certain techniques, just use apps like that.
Yeah, I think I was gonna ask what everybody, like Ty was talking about, what everybody does to get themselves ready for the day or get themselves in the mental space. But anyways, let's move on. I wanted to talk about food, because being, Black and Afro-Caribbean, I think food is such a big change when you move to uni. So if you're used to eating stuff like yam, fufu and stuff like that, maybe you're not. But how did the second years navigate cooking and just making food for themselves last year? And what worked and what didn't work?
For me personally, I found cooking to be like enjoyable because I've always liked cooking. So I'd always look up recipes and then just like have a time. And for me, it's a good time to just vibe out and just be by myself because I like to cook just by myself. So it just gives me time to think and just, listen to music and have a good time, honestly.
That's good.
Yeah, I think mine is the same as Jerry's as well, because I think because at home, like we eat a lot of Nigerian food, and I didn't really have the opportunity to make different types of food that I wanted to make because no one else in the house would like it. So I think uni was a good space for me to practice like basic food like bolognese that I don't eat at home because no one else likes it. I used the opportunity to properly like perfect it, learned the recipe and like tikka masala, all this sort of stuff. And like obviously like I don't know if anyone knows like akara, like I used the opportunity to perfect it there as well. And yeah, and it's a good way to kind of bond with like your housemates or your flatmates as well, because food joins everyone together from any race. And yeah, just use the opportunity, like if you remember what your mom told you on cooking a certain type of dish, kind of put it into practice. And yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the reason I brought that up is because I think sometimes when you're at uni, you you kind of neglect your food, diet, health kind of stuff. And you like it's so easy to get takeout and no one's telling you no. So if you wanted, you could get takeout for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like no one is stopping you. But it's really important to, monitor what you're putting inside of you. Because they do say you are what you eat and you don't want to be chicken burgers from McDonald's and stuff. So yes, it's really it's really important. Um, for me, what worked for me was meal prep. So like on Sundays, I live with Crystal, who's there. On Sundays, we would, get all of our pots and pans together. We'd go to Aldi, we'd buy all our ingredients, and we'd just cook for the whole week. And that just made sure, we're taking part of that aspect of our health and we're eating good throughout the week.
Yeah, we also held each other accountable. So we made sure that we ate, not just making food, but actually eating 3 times as well in the day.
Yeah, which is so important. But yeah, I wonder how how the first years are, because you've been in uni for 2 weeks. How are you navigating food? Anyone can answer, anyone, or just anyone in general. How's anyone navigating food this year?
Me personally, I feel like I'm struggling to eat fruit and vegetables all the time. Like at home, I do, but then here it's like it's like a chore personally. And obviously, you need to eat your fruit and vegetables because But at uni, it just seems so difficult. Sometimes I just forget, right? And it'll be like 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll be like, oh, I've not actually eaten any fruit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
fruit goes off so quickly. That's another thing. It's expensive to get fresh fruit, and then you get it, and then 3 days after the banana's gone off or something. But like one thing you could try is smoothies. They're like really nice. You could try different smoothies. You could buy frozen fruit from Aldi, and that way you're getting your correct fruit intake. That's another idea.
I feel like for me, I just feel a bit too lazy to cook. Like in first year, I was downstairs cooking 3 times. I'll be downstairs chefing it up in the kitchen, but now I'm just like, oh, I'll just take an avocado and chop it up, and that's it. Like, because normally at home, I'm a proper foodie. I'm in the kitchen majority of the time, but now I'm just like in my room, lying on my bed, not even doing my lectures. And I think it's not good, because you need to continue to put that kind of energy into your body so you'll be able to move throughout the day and be active. So yeah, and I just feel like I've gone off certain foods as well, like just little stuff that I just like mangoes. I loved mangoes at home. I don't know, I just look at it now, I'm like, oh, which is a bit sad because mangoes are a class. But yeah, I think it's just important to just keep, I don't know, just fueling your body, not fueling it with junk every single time. Maybe just, I don't know, treat yourself maybe once a week or once a month, but continuously fuel your body, because it'll help your mind as well. When you're full, when you're eating good, your mind will be, well, somewhat settled. Yeah.
Yeah, that is really important. I feel like we've covered everything. I mean, if anyone has any questions or topics they want to bring up, otherwise.
Have you guys spoken about like the whole COVID situation, like difference in uni now? Because me personally, I'm struggling with the whole mainly online teaching. So it's just hard to keep myself motivated in terms of doing uni work and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel that.
Yeah, I don't think we talked about it too much. I think I touched upon it on how it restricts us and how we learn and stuff. But I think I've been feeling like you, because I'm normally go to the library and do all my work and then come home and chill. But with COVID, you can't really go to the library. You have to work at home, and the motivation is so low. Like first week, I was on a high. I was like, yeah, 3 lectures, let's do it. And then on Monday, I was like, yeah, this is looking really long. But I think ways you can keep yourself, going is just discipline. I think I read somewhere about someone saying how motivation will only get you so far. But I think it's really, really working on that discipline and pushing through. But that's easier said than done. Sometimes it's like getting someone who's on your course and keeping each other accountable. Like, this is what I'm going to do today, or this is what we're both going to do today, checking up on each other at the end and being like, have you done this? And yeah, I can't think of any other tips. If anybody else has stuff that help motivation.
I feel like if you're on it, well, you could go.
Are you sure?
Yeah, it's fine, don't worry.
I'd say mindset as well, like in terms of, for me, what I learned in like the difference between, well, not really, no, I'd say similarity between like A-levels and here was when in A-levels, I'd say obviously, oh, this subject is so hard. And I'd struggle with that subject. But the subjects, I'm like, oh, this subject is really easy. I do really well. And that's what I learned in first year. Like, obviously, we have different modules. The modules I'd say, oh, this is so hard, I would struggle with. But then after a while, when I started switching up, like, oh, this is actually not as hard as I thought. Oh, this is better than I thought. This is easier than I thought. I found that those modules got easier and easier, and I tended to like those modules. And that's how I did much better than I would have if I continued with like the negative mindset. So that's what I'm like doing this year as well, is like I'm not seeing any module is hard. Like at the end of the day, they may be hard, but trying to keep your mindset positive does like help quite a lot, especially in uni.
Yeah, and I think kind of adding to that, I feel like if you're in a course that's quite demanding, it's good to have people on your team, like in your group, who are just as motivated as you. Because if you're the only one in your group who's really motivated and everyone else just isn't doing any work, you're just going to feel like, oh, what's the point? Like, if I get like this grade, I'll be okay with it, even though you want to get something better. Like for me, for example, on my course, I have a group of people around me who are just as motivated. Even me, I feel like I'm slightly behind, like, nah, I need to catch up with these people right now. And it's good because we'll end up graduating with fantastic grades. It's really important to find academically inclined people, well, if you are academically inclined as much as you are, because it really helps in the long run. because you just be there checking each other, like, have you done this lecture? I've done this lecture. You don't want to feel like you're behind. So I think it's good if you're someone who tends to be quite, if you're someone who tends to procrastinate a lot, like me, it kind of pushes you more. So yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a big procrastinator. I procrastinate on everything. So I feel like that's something I need to just work on, especially just because in the moment I'll be doing my work and I'm like, oh, I'm really tired now. And I haven't even gotten that far into my work. So then I just be like, I'll take a break for 10 minutes and then end up falling asleep. And then it's just like when I wake up, like I've lost all motivation to do anything else. So I just need to get going. Yeah.
That's another thing, like the napping, I feel is a massive, like, try not to nap when you have work to do, because when you nap and you wake up, if you're really tired, like, nap, but if you take too many naps, then you'll just wake up and you'll be like, yeah, I don't feel like doing this anymore. So I think just trying to find the balance. If you're really tired, nap, but if you don't need to nap, then stop napping all the time, because then you're going to kind of feel a bit confused and your schedule's going to be a bit off, I think.
Even with not napping, sleep is just so important. I feel like sometimes we have really bad habits when we sleep, especially with, like, you have 9 a.m.s, but technically, like, it's up to you if it's on Zoom, if you want to go, no one's gonna catch you. But like, it's so important to get enough sleep, because when you get enough sleep, you're less likely to nap. And napping becomes really dangerous because you'll say you're doing it for 10 minutes and next thing you know it's 9 p.m. and you can't do any work. So yeah. Yeah, you could just speak.
Sorry. I would say with the napping thing, because I really like to nap. So I've done a thing where I've stopped. Well, I haven't stopped, but I've reduced the amount of time that I work in my room. So instead, I'll work in like the front room and stuff like that. I'll just like segregate eating, sleeping, and working. Like, I won't eat in my bed or work on my bed. I won't sleep in the front room, or, like, do you know what I mean? It just stops it from getting like everything mushed together. So with the discipline again, like, if I make my dinner, I'm going straight to the living room because that's dinner time, or like stuff like that. So yeah, I think that would help if you tend to look at your bed and like, oh, that nap could bang right now, da, da, da. But if you put yourself in a situation where that's not an option, then I think your chances of like sticking to the routine would be increased.
I think it's kind of the opposite for me. For me, I have to nap or else I'm really not going to function. Like, I function more at night, and it's obviously something that I could probably change if I really wanted to, but I don't. However, what I've learned to force myself to do is know that if I'm going to sleep from now till 5, that as soon as I wake up from 5, I'm going to take an hour off to not do anything, just get myself like back in the game, get my head sorted, and then I'm going to, for the like same amount of time I've slept, I'm gonna do work and even more. So that's how I've like structured it. So even, for example, I sleep, let's say I wake up at 9, I chill from 9 till whatever. At 1 o'clock, I feel tired. I sleep from 1 till whenever. As soon as I wake up, I know that, okay, cool, this is the amount of work I needed to do today. I cannot go back to sleep unless I've done this work. And because I've napped more time than like less, I'm okay with like doing like a stretch of, 5 hours work before I go to sleep. So I think it really depends on the person you are. And like, it's just, as someone said before, it's really discipline.
Yeah, that's so true. Have any of you had any sessions in your uni places yet? Or is everybody online completely?
I had one.
We have. Oh, sorry. You go.
Oh no, I just wanted to say I had one session on campus. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I was going to say something similar. For law, we have seminars. Well, you can choose, but you can choose to have seminars in person. So far I've had one, and it was actually really good because I forgot how nice it was to have face-to-face contact with people. because you kind of forget that when you're just watching lectures all the time. But it's not, I don't think it's often enough, because obviously you don't want to have the risk of corona, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, that's so true. I think I've only had one session inside so far. How's as Jerry said about the motivation, how's everybody going about making sure that they actually do what they need to do in the day? Are you structuring, or are you just taking it as you go along?
I structure it. So like I work best at like in the evening at night. So like most of my work is done during the night. So like I have like the morning and the afternoon for lectures, to do whatever I want to do before then doing the work at night. So that's it.
Yeah,
I do a similar thing to Whitney as well. Like I work best at nighttime, so usually during the day I'd be like trying to sort myself out, and then at night it's like, okay, I know I need to do this work, and I make lists. But I try to make the lists so that there's not too many things packed, because I know if I write down too many things to do, I'm going to feel overwhelmed and I'm more likely to not do it. So I'll set maybe 3 or 4 tasks. Some of them are maybe a bit more like broader than others, and then just work my way around it and know that, okay, if I've not completed everything today, I have to carry some things on to the next day, and then I'll just decrease the amount of stuff I have to do for the next day, so that it fits towards like my kind of working.
Yeah, that's good. I think when you're talking about the list, there's these things that they made us do last year, and it's called SMART goals. So when you make a goal or like a list to do, they have to be specific, measurable. So like I don't know, 2 pages of an essay or something, assignable, relevant, and time-based. And the time-based one is so important, because if you set lists and you're very unrealistic, like one of my flatmates the other time was setting lists, and she put like 9 things on the list, and I came back home and I was like, so how many did you do? She's like, I did 2. And I think the first mistake was putting 9 things on the list. So making things time-based and like, achievable is so important. I was gonna say one thing that's helped me is I bought this timetable whiteboard, because I don't know if anybody else's course have been doing this, but like not everything is on the timetable. You kind of have to find things you have to do during the day. So that's really helped me, just find like a timetable whiteboard and writing everything I need to do that week.
I think when like on the topic of organization, one thing I found is really good is Google Calendar. It's really, really, really good. Like if you don't have like an actual timetable and you want to create your own timetable, it's so easy to kind of create little time slots on there for each day and for each week, for each month and stuff. And then you can create your own timetable, and it's really like, and they've got like colorful, color-coded things. So that's really nice to look at. And then if you don't want something as structured as that, use your Notes app. Notes app is really easy to use, and for me personally, that's the one I use the most. And I'll just be like, okay, to-do list, this is what I need to do this day, 1 2 3, done. And then the next day I would make another one. And like, yeah, especially now we don't have timetables, you need to create your own, and you need a good like app or whatever, or if you like paper, I guess use paper. So
Yeah, I tend to use my Notes app the most, just to try and keep on top of everything that I need to do. Mainly not uni wise, just extra things that I have to do throughout the week. Or say I just make it like a general list of things that I need to get done throughout by like the end of the week. So I just use the Notes app for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's really important. Organization is going to be one of the things, I guess, that makes or breaks this academic year, especially since everything is online. So yeah, I think it's really important to get that sorted out as soon as possible if you haven't already. Yeah. Yeah, have we covered all the bases? Anybody else have anything they want to bring up, maybe? No? Okay, that's fine. We were supposed to finish at 3:30, but 4:30, I mean, but I think this is good. So we've talked about mental health and the stats, associated with mental health. And we've talked about some of the issues that uni students face, and we've talked about how to combat it and experiences and stuff. So yeah, I think this has been a good, productive, chill session. I think I'm going to end it now. So yeah, hopefully everyone has a good weekend and a good, productive, no procrastination filled week next week. Yeah. Yeah. Bye, guys.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.